Oh, yeah, we about ready, guys. Oh, yeah, they coming on in. We about to get in here. Anytime we can have a Texan on is a good day. I'd like to welcome everyone to HBCU Coach's Corner. My name is Rocky. I'm your host of this very special episode of Coach's Corner, along with my co-host, Mr. Campbell. We have a very special guest as our substitute coach. Coach, as many of you guys may or may not know, today is Coach Cole's birthday. If you run across him, if you see him, if you have his contact information, send him a shout out, a happy birthday. Today's his birthday and he's celebrating with his family. So for this very special occasion, he invited Coach Keaton to come in and sit in as our guest host and our featured host, right? You can't have Coach's Corner without a coach. It's just a corner without a coach. So with no further ado, I got my man, former Clark Atlanta head coach, Mr. Teddy Keaton.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. He found me at the unemployment line. I was just looking for a job, and they filled me in.
Hey, Coach. Before we get started, we got Coach Malone in the wings. But before we get started, Coach, how you doing, man?
I'm doing well. I'm having a good time. I was excited about the opportunity today. You know, I don't want to steal Mr. Campbell's job. You know, I know he got his crew running in the background with the numbers and the stats, but I did a little homework myself so I could be prepared for today.
Well,
all right,
Coach, here's the thing.
Yeah, your sound just went out. I don't know what happened.
What about now?
You good, Coach?
Okay. I don't know why. Okay. No what? Coach, listen. This is one of my guys. This is one of my class 88 guys. Known him a long time. We got a lot of mutual friends. And I'm talking about not associates. I'm talking about really great friends. So my thing is going to be personal. So, Coach, I'm going to let you have the play sheet today. You know what I'm saying? So it's only a few things I already got that I'm going to talk to. But the X and O, Coach, I'm going to let you have that all good. But like I say, I'm super excited because when he got the job, we had to track him down, and I wanted him to get on the show. I think this was the first show he got to do an interview with, and we were excited to have him. And we're excited to have him now because he's going to go and get those Hampton Pirates right and let everybody know who's the real HU and get it going. So, man, I'm super excited. And, Coach, listen, you know you one of the best interviews we've had on this show. And your wealth of knowledge and who you are, and people are excited. And again, you're doing your own podcast and things like that and stuff. And, Coach, like I say, Coach, tell them, first of all, where your podcast at? Coach, tell them real quick. You shout out your podcast real quick.
Be the reason, man. It's you can find it on most of the time. It's on YouTube under my name, Teddy Keaton. You can follow me on Instagram at Keaton.Teddy. That's where you get your shorts and all that stuff at him. And we just put out leadership stuff. Talk about leadership, talk about recruitment, the different things that we do, and I enjoy doing that. So I appreciate all the kind words.
Hey, Mr. Campbell, we got a little echo. I don't know what's wrong with you. Your sound is usually top notch. I'm not sure what kind of echo we got there, but I just wanted to let you know that. And it seems like you got it already addressed.
Wait, what about now?
No, I hear myself.
Teddy, you hear echo?
Yes, I do.
That's interesting. All right, let's see what's going on, because I don't know why.
It's usually Coach Cole.
What about now? Do you guys hear echo?
Testing. Oh, no, it's gone.
It's gone? Okay.
It's all gone. I don't know what you did.
Well, we'll try to see what's going on. Now, hey, Spot, I don't even have the computer on. You know what I'm saying? So I don't have the background going on. But that's okay, man. You know, nothing can stop this greatness, because me and Coach Malone were talking about the GPS. We got a good story for y'all. Coach Malone got a really good story. So Rocky, we're gonna go ahead and get on and get this thing started. Welcome to HBCU Coach's Corner. You know, Mr. Campbell, Rocky, and we got Coach Teddy Keith. But listen, I'm super excited because we got my guy, Coach Van Malone. Let me tell you something. Was a defensive back down there. Those Texas Longhorns was the All Southwest Conference. That's old school right there, Rocky. Southwestern Conference. All-American, played 5 years in the NFL. But you know what, though? His thing was coaching. 2 decades of coaching. He's been at Texas A&M, Oklahoma State, Southern Methodist, Kansas State. But guess what now? He is now the new head coach of Hampton University Pirates, my guy, Van Malone.
I tell you what, Mr. Campbell, I'm gonna bring you to Hampton, Virginia, man, and you're gonna introduce that team when they roll out there every week.
Hey,
right?
man, did you saw what the Baltimore Ravens did when they had everybody? Did you see that video, Coach? I know you've been in practice. So what they did, they had their PR announcer, right, for the first day of practice.
Yeah.
Every player that rolled in, he did their PR announcement of every player. So,
okay.
Man, so Coach, hey, man, listen, this voice is on loan from God. My daddy was a DJ up in the Washington, D.C. area. So, man, he didn't give me no hype, but he gave me this voice.
Well, guess what? Height ain't everything. You know what I mean? Well, man, I'm as excited as I can be to be on. Of course, like you guys mentioned, this was the first show that I had an opportunity to do. And, man, for you guys, for Coach Cole, who's celebrating his birthday, how old is he? 25, 26?
Man, hey, Coach, he's 60. He's 60 Trey, as we say in Waco.
Yeah, and that's the new 25. So for Rock, for Teddy, as a substitute teacher, man, I appreciate you guys for having me on. And I couldn't be more excited to be able to share with you. And I've been watching the show, man, and I'm just wondering, got a lot of SWAC action, and I just was wondering if we could get some movement around. So I'm just happy that y'all been able to bring me on, right?
See that's Coach. Let me tell you something. See, that is unconscious bias, because once again, we've had Chennis Berry on here.
I know
Trey Oliver. We got no. We got you on. We had Coach Gibbs on. See what it is, Coach. I'm just gonna tell you what it is. And Hampton used to be part of the former MEAC. Now you guys in the CAA. But see, that's that South Carolina State. See, them folks is upset down there because they're the national champions, and people talking about T-Jack and Prairie View, people talking about Jackson State, people talking about Alabama State. And see, my guy Chennis Berry saying, 1-0, ABC. See, they ain't talking enough about those ABCs. You know,
that's right.
So that's
right.
what it is. They feeling themselves, which they have every right to. So we gonna get Coach Chennis Berry on here. So we have everybody on here, Coach. That's how we do.
Well, I appreciate y'all for having us Hampton Pirates on there. We're as excited, like I said, as excited as we can be, man, to start this season, to right this ship. We talk about burning the ships here, so we got to right the ship, and then we're gonna burn the ship. But that's a whole different story.
Hey, Coach, let me kind of ask you to get this thing started, Coach. You've been in coaching a long time. You're a decorated high school player, decorated college player, a professional football player, and then you spend a lot of time in coaching. I just want to ask you, why Hampton? Why now?
And I've answered that question quite a bit. And for me, like you said, I've had an opportunity to do some great things as a player and even some great things as a coach. But man, there came a point in my career, which, you know what, this is where I've been hitting that question most often. Is my son, when my son was like 8 years old, he used to put money in his mouth, right? Oh, nasty quarters and nickels. You get that joker a quarter, he gonna put it in his mouth. I don't know, like he thought it was a bank or something. Well, at some point, this dude realized that quarter was money, right? And he said, I got money, but he didn't know the value of it. So he would say, I got money, I'm gonna buy me some clothes, or I'm gonna buy me a shirt, or I'm gonna buy whatever, whatever he might choose with that quarter. So he knew it was money, but he didn't recognize the value of it, right? So then he got older and he recognized, you get that joker a quarter, he throw it right back at you, right? Because he knew the value of the money, right? And so I believe that over the course of his life, he was having these revelations. He was learning more about money at that moment. And so I feel like we all have those revelations. And so for me, it just came at some point, man, where I realized what I was doing was a great thing, but that, man, I need to make more of an impact in environments where the people look like me, right? And that was not saying anything negative about the environments that I've been in most of my career, but at some point, man, you just have a place where you say, you know what, I just want to do something more, and doing something more for people, for fan bases, for young people in and out of the program, for the alumni base. I just wanted to, man, affect the people who look like me more than I was, right? I wanted to take some of the, what I'm gonna call the secrets, some of the places I've been. I wanted to take that to an environment that was closer to what I grew up in, or an environment that was closer to the family that I grew up around. And so why Hampton? Well, man, Hampton is a prestigious university in a great environment, right? With a lot of history, athletically as well as educationally. And so Hampton was a great part of the choice. But then just the overall HBCU environment, it's like when you go on the road and you travel, as we do in coaching, you travel all over the world, right? But then, man, at some point, you just want to get back home. And so that's what this environment, that's what this HBCU world, this Hampton world, it provided for me in my life.
Hey, Coach, I'm gonna step aside this time because I think this is a great opportunity for two guys that have been in coaching to have a conversation about. We have Coach Keaton on, and Coach Keaton has been a head coach. He's taken over a program that had struggled at one point, and he's rebuilt programs. And I'd like to, just be a fly on the wall as we listen to you guys dialogue about what you've experienced, Coach Keaton, and versus, what some tips, because got to remember, Coach Malone, this is his first go-round in HBCU football. And so if you got anything important that you would like to say to him, or you wish someone had told you when you got on the boat, when you got on the train, this is I think this is an opportunity to have that kind of conversation. So anything you want to say or any comments you have, Coach Keaton?
No, there's nothing you could tell anybody. You ain't never going to be prepared to sit in that chair. I've been able to do it 3 times, and I've had the opportunity to be able to take over some programs that's in the situations that he currently is in. My first question to you, Coach, was when you first studied the film, when you looked at Hampton in 2025 film, what did you identify as the number one issue that had to change before you ever could talk about wins and losses?
Well, you know what, Coach? First of all, you and I, we're going to make some contact because you got some stuff you can give me. And I'm not going to leave you alone until I get it. But man, honestly, when I looked at the film, before I even decided that this was the place, I just wanted to know if this environment, if this area, you could recruit. Can you win with the recruits in this area? Check. Yes, you can. A lot of them. Yes. Right. So then when I started to look at the film, I said, man, this team has talent. There is some talent on this team. Now, what happens when you transition coaches, bam, 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 those Jews jump off the ship in the transfer portal, right? So some of those people that I was watching, when I got here, they were not here, right? But that's okay. There is talent on this team. But why can't they win, right? I had my opinions, and I talked to each of the kids individually on Zoom, and they gave me their opinions. I'm not going to talk about their opinions, but what I saw is they lack discipline, right? And discipline comes from your coach, but it also comes from yourself, right? There's some accountability that you got to be responsible for. And so we got new coaches, right? We got new coaches. So I had to explain to them, once I got to them, that we got new coaches. But what I saw was a lack of discipline. What I saw was a lack of cohesiveness, right? You didn't execute because you don't even know who this guy is. As I start to peel back the layers, The reason you executing at a low level is because there is no cohesiveness on your team. Is that the coach's responsibility? Is that your responsibility? Right. And so when I watched certain games that they lost, man, they lost the game because of penalties. Right. They lost the game because of people not aligned the right way. Is that the coach's fault or is that your fault? Right. So a lot of times it's both. You know what I mean? And so more than anything, that's what I saw was lack of discipline. I saw effort waning. Of course, once you lose 3, 4, 5 games, right? Once you establish a culture of losing, right? You can establish a culture of winning and losing. Once you establish a culture of losing, man, people walk out there ready to quit, right? And so I saw that, right? Well, at the end of the day, coming into it, like coach, coming into this thing, it was for me to establish a culture of winning, to teach them what winning people do, to teach them what winning teams do, and to not sleep and to not allow them to sleep until we start to move in that direction. Now, what we haven't had a chance to do, we haven't had a chance to play a game, right? But we talk about showing up in the weight room. Do winning teams show up in the weight room late? Do winning teams, everybody wear what the hell they want to wear? Do winning teams tell me something about I'm tired? Tell me something about I can't do? Tell me what they can't do? That's not what winners do. And so we put the pressure on not just the players, but everybody in this organization. Everybody in this organization is bound by chasing excellence, right? And sometimes with coaches, I was talking to Mr. Campbell. I'm not going to steal his thunder. I'm going to lead it right there because I was about to get into what he and I talked about. But sometimes coaches, you say all these words, these slogans, you come up with all these slogans, right? But you don't believe that. That's not you. You just doing what somebody else said and you thought it sounded good. So you kind of put it in your head, right? Everything that this team is, because this is my team, until I can give it to them. You want the players to eventually it to be a players team. You want to, but it's like they use the word Lambo. I asked them, what's the nicest? They said a Lambo. Okay, this team is a Lambo, right? And I can't give you this Lambo, give you the keys to this Lambo until I know you know how to drive it, right? Because you're gonna wreck my damn Lambo, right? The administration gave me this team. And I want to give the Lambo to you, but I don't trust you with the Lambo yet because this is a Lambo, damn it, right? And if all of a sudden I give you the Lambo like it's a Ford Probe, do they even make Ford Probes anymore? I don't know, but like we got to take care of this, and so they can't get it until they earn that. And so, Coach, man, that. Walking in, I knew we were going to have to build those ideals. Now, there's a lot more that comes along, but I'm just talking about initially, that was where my mind went to.
When you touched on it, when you say, coaches-led teams go 6-5, player-led teams win championships. People who understand that model that the players are responsible for themselves, how they carry themselves, the actions. You're responsible for your own self-discipline and the things that you need to take care of in order to give yourself a chance to win. And then they got to learn how to create value for themselves and how much value you're going to create for yourself as an individual and also the value you're going to create for the team. So all those things that matter to when you're building a program and trying to turn them around. I said, my second question kind of led to Hampton allowed 233 rushing yards per game last season. From a defensive standpoint, you're a great defensive back coach. You understand the game. How much is that is fixing scheme? How much is that is personnel? And how much is that more of about developing physical mindset? I heard you talk about there was players that were already in the building. So that means there's some bodies there that you believe in. So now I kind of got an answer to that question. So now I want to hear what you say about it.
So here's what I watch. When I watch, of course, I'm gonna watch the hell out of them when they playing defense, right? Because I'm a defensive coach. I watch people lose leverage. I watch people stay stuck on blocks. I watch people take bad angles. Is that the coach or is that the player? Like the question is always going to be me because I know with the fans, they don't really know the players' names moving too fast. They don't really know the game. They blame the coach. The damn coach ain't got them right. And you know what the coach does when you sit in the coaches meetings over the years, all these years, you know what the coach do? The coach blames the player. Well, Johnny, he just can't learn. Oh, Johnny's just not fast enough. Oh, Johnny's just not strong enough, right? No, man, it's a two-part. You and Johnny are working together, right? The coach and the player, you have an agreement. You're going to teach him the fundamentals of maintaining this leverage, right? Of keeping that outside arm and leg free. Most of those yards that you watch, that you're looking at, man, those things came because people were turning that corner on, right? And they not leveraging the football. Next thing was happening is dudes were running out of their gaps, right? You got to, hey, dog, you have the A gap, right? Sometimes in some schemes, we have to give you two gaps. You got the A or you got the B, right? You got the A on this side of the ball, you got the B over here. Sometimes we have to do that. We do that very sparingly, but sometimes we have to do that. Generally, you only got one gap. And here you are, you running out of the gap that you belong to, that belongs to you. You over here trying to help. So that's training, that's discipline, that's trust. I have the A gap. I know Big Red is going to have the B gap. And I know little Pookie is going to have the A gap over here, right? So I'm going to stay in my gap no matter what. If I'm going to go to the ball, I'm going to go to the ball through my gap. I'm going to peek my head in my gap. Oh, no, it's not. Now I can flow to the football. But I'm not running trying to go pay somebody's light bill when I ain't paid my water bill, right? And so that's what I saw more than anything, which that's encompasses it all. It encompasses it all, right? The things that we talk about is they affect the offense and they affect the defense. And then ultimately they do affect special teams as well. We talk about quarterback efficiency. That's what I just talked to the team about. Now, the quarterback's efficiency, these are the things we're going to talk about in fall camp. It's got to be measured by the offensive coaches every day. Guess what? It's also got to be measured by the defensive coaches. Because if the quarterback can walk up to the line of scrimmage, take the snap, and throw an access throw, cornerback, you leading to successful quarterback play, right? Because you showing him where he can throw the ball right now. If you change up your look, you giving a quarterback an indecisive moment really quickly, right? So that's the first thing. The second thing is winning the line of scrimmage. That's offensive line coach. That's defensive line coach. We got to own the line of scrimmage. The defensive coaches, they feel like they should own it. They should create lost yardage plays. The offensive line coach should be moving that thing forward, right? And so you own that, offensive line coaches. The next thing is big play differential. Who are we giving up big plays? Or are we creating big plays, right? If you're giving up big plays, what the hell is going on? Big runs or big passes? We got to eliminate those. Offensively, hey, man, there was a coach, I can't remember his name, coach for the Chargers back in the day, used to say we're going to matriculate the ball down the field. Well, we're going to matriculate it, but we got to every now and again create a big play, right? We got to create a big play. And defensively, we got to take those away. Offensively, next step, offensively, we can't give the ball up. We have to maintain control of the ball. We can't turn it over. Defense, we got to create some turnovers, right? We got to create some turnovers. The next thing is that we have to have an understanding of the hidden yardage that's found in special teams. Everybody going to talk about offense. Everybody going to talk about defense. They're going to talk about the yards and the carries and the catches and all and the throws, but they're not going to talk about that punter placing the ball where he needs to place it so we can cover it properly. He's not going to talk about the fact that this is a wide receiver going down on a kickoff team. He got to know how to tackle, right? And so all of these factors, I'm going to call them critical factors, they are a part of what we're trying to do to be successful. And you can talk about the scheme, to your point, Coach. You can talk about the scheme, right? It's 11 of them out there. It's 11 of them on offense. It's 11 of them on defense. You better teach the fundamentals, and you better make sure they're executing at a high level with a good understanding of those things, which can very simply cause you to win or to lose.
There's no doubt, boy. It's about knowing what to do, how to do it, and why it's important for them to do it that way. A lot of people don't understand that when you talk about execution. You know, when I watch and this, you know, when I watch Jackson State play now, and me and Rocky had this when we were talking about this a long time. I say the level of execution in HBCU football has came to a whole new level. I can remember maybe back about 12 or 13 years, it was tough. You get what I'm saying? It was tough. That it was hard to watch because of execution. Now the coaching has gotten to be so much better. They're lining them up. They're coaching them well. You're not seeing it. But when I watched Hampton, and I knew this was going to be tough for you because I'm used to taking over tough spaces. So I even went over to the offensive side of the ball, and you saw where, you know, they made it to the red zone 34 times. They only scored 47% of those trips now. So so what are we doing in camp right now to understand how to finish drives?
Yep. So when I watch the offense, again, it's kind of boring for me. I'm a defensive guy. But when I watch the offense, here's what I saw. I saw drives being killed by ourselves, right? So, you know, we talk about our mantra of out hit. It's just simple. Be physical. Be more physical than the opponent. Outsmart. Like, don't do dumb things to kill drives, right? Don't do dumb things to put yourself in bad situations. That's what they did as I watched them, right? Is that the coach or is that the player? I got dudes jump. We got 1st and 10. You talk about in the red zone. We in the red zone. I watched some games. We in the red zone. And all of a sudden we jump off sides and we find us. So when you talk about, you know, special teams coaches, I just put it up tonight. We talk about the odds of scoring as you move yourself further away from that goal line. When you do things to move, not the defense getting a lost yardage play, you doing things even before the ball snap to move yourself away from the promised land, away from scoring range, right? That's what I saw, right? I saw that. I saw young people putting the ball in jeopardy. I saw turnovers, right? I saw turnovers in the red zone.
That's right.
You can't get to the red zone. Is that the coach or is that the player? You can't get to the red zone and give them the ball. That's when they're the most nervous, right? And so I just want our players, you ask what we're doing, our players are learning that when they are in the red zone, this is the moment when you have control of, I'm going to just call it the game. You are in control, right? So all you got to do, man, is just follow through. The defense, being a defensive guy, I know the defense is nervous as can be. You have an 85, a 90, 100% chance of scoring as you get into this area. Well, why would you negate that, right? And that's what I saw, right? That's what I saw throughout the different parts of the season. And man, young people, they young people, right? You have to teach them to focus in the moment, right? In the moment. That's what really separates the greatest players from the players who just play, is what they do in the moment, what they do in those crucial situations. And guess what? Sometimes you can evaluate us as coaches as to how we operate when the butts are the tightest. You know what I'm saying?
Let me step in here for a minute and say this, Coach, because evaluating Hampton's schedule last year, because I watched every game of that Jackson State game, first game of the season. They came out pretty tough. They were pretty salty against Jackson State. But it seemed to me they never got any better than that. And then at midseason, you saw a really big drop-off in play. I don't know if that was effort. I don't know if that was injuries. I don't know what it was. But I want to ask you this here, and Coach, you can probably get in here and ask it in a way to make more sense. With a team that kind of degraded so rapidly after the midseason, and that being on those guys' resume, how do you evaluate them going into next year, realizing that there was a huge drop-off in their quality of play as they went down the stretch of the season?
So what you do, in my opinion, is you evaluate, like I'm evaluating what happened, right? I'm not necessarily saying, oh, this guy's a bad player. I can see that so-and-so runs, ooh, this joker is fast. Damn, I'm looking at his mile. I'm looking at his data. His miles per hour, he got the talent, right? And I always say is that, hey man, if I put you in position, what would you do? Right? So I'm not in my evaluation. Yeah. Ooh, I almost cursed. You're 2-10, right? You're 2-10 because you did not execute the way you're supposed to execute. That was you, players. That was you. You did that. So you're gonna carry that on your back until we get a chance to change it. Well, you watched the Jackson State game, and oh man, we were fired up. The season is not about getting up for this game or getting hyped for this game or playing for a quarter in this game. Or it's a long, treacherous and so I was just about to use the word. It's a process. So you don't necessarily play the games. Yeah, you play the games, but it's about your whole. You are building a bridge, right? I'm gonna use that illustration. You're building a bridge. So when you lay the first brick, that brick's got to be perfect. Your focus is on that brick, right? Then when you get to the next brick, you got to lay that one perfect. You can't be up and down. You up for the Jackson State. You up if we winning. You down if coaches, we call that front runners. You up if we winning. You down if we losing. When we lose this game, then you're different. Guess what? Coaches do that too. I say to our staff, if we happen to lose a game, we gonna lose. Well, I don't know which one we're gonna lose. I'm not crazy, right? There's gonna be some difficulties. There's gonna be some adversities, and when those adversities come, what the adversities are is the adversities. Like if we fumble a ball and lose a game, you know what we did? We fumbled the ball and lost the game. That ain't the only thing that happened in the game. Somebody missed a tackle. Somebody blew a coverage. It ain't just that one play, right? Because what about that kickoff return that we got? We didn't score. We got it to the 20, but if two other people would have blocked, we could have scored. So we don't count that, right? You forget all about that. You don't think about the fumble. But no, we could have. This wouldn't have even been a situation if we'd have scored with that. Or what about that interception that the DB dropped? If he catches that damn ball, he's going to probably get a pick six. We don't remember that, right? We totally forget about that. Or what about the time when the quarterback he set his feet, he was about to deliver the ball, but he got the hell knocked out of him because the guard didn't block his man, right? So there's other things that happen. And so we don't need to walk around on eggshells when we're not successful. We have to discover what did we do wrong, and we have to keep it moving. So Hampton, you played poorly in those games, but you came back for whatever the hell the reason was. It ain't good enough. You came back and your double was down, and the first game that you lost made you lose the second game. And then the second game was connected to the first game and made you lose the second game, and your ass lost the third. Y'all gonna have to clean this up. You done lost the third game. You know what I'm saying? Every play is independent. It has its own life. Every game, it has its own life. It's not connect unless you connect it, right? If you still want to be mad because your coach cursed you out in game 1, and here we are in game 5, you think he tripping, he don't like you. You can't have success. The greatest people, the greatest teams, they learn. Again, that's why we talk about the driving. When you drive, the damn front mirror window is big as hell. That little bitty mirror in the back, that's so you can see backwards, right? The little rear view mirror. It ain't worried about what's behind. You're going to learn from it, but you got to see what's ahead of you. And so I don't think Hampton did a good job of that. They kids, again, they young people. And so we as coaches, as we move forward, the fans, I love the fans. I love them. I love them. I love them to death, right? But when we get into that huddle, when we get into this circle, no noise. Nothing penetrates this. This is a soundproof room, right? Because fans, they love what they love, right? But they don't necessarily always understand what's happening in the soundproof room. And so you have to have your players in a soundproof room, right? And the passion of the fans, you want that. You love it, but you can't feed off it in such a way that it predicts your movement. I think our players last year, they did.
Well, I know that's a big thing, man. I took an Andre 3000 verse, and it say spaceships don't come equipped with rearview mirrors, they dip. So when you hear me say that all the time to my players, I say it all the time that we don't want to worry about what's behind us. We're focusing on what's ahead. We're gonna play the next play. We're gonna do what we need to do. And I don't want to take nothing from Mr. Campbell. I know he got something he want to say. I want to say I'm an offensive guy. That's where I cut my teeth at. I saw the quarterback room. I'm kind of excited for you. You got 2 new quarterbacks coming in. You got the transfer from Southern, which is Jalen Wood, and then you got the junior college transfer, Trayvon Taylor. What qualities are you looking for? Or your offensive coordinator? Is it still Bolden? Is Bolden still
Yes.
Okay, yes. DJ, what is DJ looking for in that decision making, whether it's leader, protection of the football, or his ability to create outside structure? You know, I tell people all the time, you cannot win. Anybody who's a winner, they have a trigger man. And I say this in college football, and high school football, pee-wee football. If you don't have a trigger man, you can't win. And it seems that you have kind of touched in a room that I like what you got. So what you think about them?
Well, I tell you what, to your point, when you look at when these rankings come out, right? It's just funny to me. I always go read the rankings. I'm talking on all levels of football. I read them. And most of the time, the teams with the returning quarterbacks, with the quarterbacks with experience, those are the ones that always get ranked higher. Those are the ones who always have the reputation that they're going to do well, because that man, that's the one, right? Everything is going to roll through him. He's going to touch that ball every time, right? And so for us, we are so excited that we have Jalen Woods, who has experience, who's played in big stages at Southern. And then we have Trey Taylor. And Trey is a very competitive young person, right? They both are. And I brought them both in here. And man, one thing I'm going to be transparent. And I said to them that, hey, here's it is. Your position is the one that everybody watches, but we're going to have a competition, right? And when we have this competition, you need to know that the man who wins the job, he has a role. But the man who does not win the job, he has a role in it as well. Because they're going to be on football teams, they're going to be just like in Las Vegas. They're going to be people who bet on black, and they're going to be people who bet on red, right? And so what we must do is we must keep our team together. So whoever you might be, if you don't win the job, your job is to support this person, because we have a plan to use them both, because they both have some dynamic qualities as athletes that they bring to a game, right? And they're different. They're not very different, but they're different. What DJ is looking for and what I'm looking for in the quarterback is a field general. We're on the sideline. DJ is in the box. He's on the sideline. You're out there as an offensive general, as an offensive coach. The execution, the movement of the offense, it goes through the quarterback. It's going to go through the quarterback. And so we need somebody who has the confidence to operate in that way, right? Who has the confidence to make adjustments. If you can't make the adjustments, if you can't have a play and the coach said, choose. Now, I'm not, an offensive guy, but I know he says, choose. You want this or you want that? Make a decision and let us know as an offensive unit what we're doing. So we're all on the same page. And so this guy has to have command, right? He has to have a command voice. He has to have a command voice in the weight room. He has to have a command voice on the practice field, right? And either one of them, the starter as well as the backup, just like that, your command voice has to turn on. You have to be ready to do that. If you're not the starter, and not both of these guys have an understanding of that. If you're not the starter, then your command voice is in a support role, right? But at any moment, it could trigger on. And so, man, we all as a team are as excited as we can be about both of those guys, because we know that we're going to have the benefit of being able to use them both in games, not as a novelty, but as an opportunity to take advantage of the specific skill sets that they have.
There's no doubt, man. I think you guys did a tremendous job right there. I'm gonna switch one question to you now, and we're gonna talk about your strategy. You inherited a team that only returning 7 offensive starters and 4 defensive starters. So, how did the transfer portal and then the high school kids affect how you recruited?
Well, you know what? You're gonna have to. I don't think there's any coaches out here who are not committed to recruiting players from the transfer portal because of the fact that you have a hole. The transfer portal can help you fill that hole. It's just that simple, right? We needed a deep snapper. We go into the transfer portal. We get 2. You know what I'm saying? And so it's like online shopping. You know what I mean? Especially online shopping around my house. I think Amazon, they have a distributorship at my house, right? Because there's always Amazon boxes. But anyway,
Mine too.
That's what the portal is online shopping. You go get what you need and you fill it right into a hole. High school recruiting, in my opinion, and I know y'all had Tremaine on here. We go back and forth at times about this, but high school recruiting, on the other hand, is, especially in this area, right? This is my opinion, especially in this area. This is how you build the foundational aspects of your team. And you know what's happening in our HBCU ranks? We are developing these players and they are getting scooped up. Well, guess what, man? Happy for these kids. But what I don't ever want to have happen is I develop you and you leave without giving me a call. Right? And you leave because we didn't have a good relationship with you. If you leave for a better opportunity, guess what's going to happen in a couple of years? The whole time I was at K-State, we had players leave for better opportunity. 3 of my defensive backs left early to go to the NFL. What am I going to do? Be mad at them that they got this up? We do this for their opportunities ultimately. Now we want to get some benefits and, we want to win and get championships, but ultimately, man, it's to develop them to take the next steps in their lives. Their next step might be going to another program for money that I can't give them, right? For opportunities that I can't give them. But I want them to have such an experience here, such a relationship here, that we make that very difficult for them.
Well, I think it's as from a coach to a coach, I think it's important that you recruit some of your high school kids. I think it's for the relationships, the foundation, and you're building a foundation for your program. And I don't care. I think you've used the transfer portal as selective to fill holes for immediate fills. That's my opinion on it. Now, I know it's a lot of coaches that don't agree with what I do,
right,
but there's a lot of coaches that hadn't stepped in the spaces I've stepped in. So I tell people all the time, you might not see it the way I see it because the pressure may not have been on me to win immediately. The pressure may be on me to develop a program and set a foundation so that when you go, I think when you don't recruit high school kids, it messes up your spring. It don't allow you to have a foundation to be able to play. And then there's a lot of good kids coming out from high school because the D1s are not recruiting them. So if they're not recruiting them, then it just falls down to you. And you get a kid that you might have fallen in your lap that may be all world beater for you. And just
I had an opportunity. I'm sorry for interrupting, but at Kansas State, man, I've had an opportunity to get those kids, right? I've had an opportunity to recruit those kids that maybe, hey man, they got passed over. And I take great pride in developing players. So he got passed over, but then we developed him again. And there he is. He's getting drafted in the 3rd round. And there he is. He's getting drafted in the 2nd round, the 4th round, right? Well, at the end of the day, I believe here at Hampton, we get an opportunity to recruit that player, but then we get an opportunity to recruit really good players that division, that Power 4 teams want just as well. And so again, the dispute of high school players or portal players, man, that's gonna go on as long as we gonna have the portal, right? But each person, kind of like you said, each program, you got to decide how you have to do it. And for us, and as like you said, we are in these places where we got to develop them, and the high school in our area, the high school play in our area is adequate, where we feel like we should make inroads into those high schools, and they are an important part of what we do.
Hey, Coach Keaton, I remember having a conversation with you, and this is something I think you and Coach Malone have in common, in that you guys took over struggling football programs that wanted to win desperately, but at the same time, y'all had very high, both institutions had very high academic standards that they had to maintain. So how do you manage, I asked Coach Keaton first, what would you recommend Coach Malone do to get a good fit academically out of high school that can adjust to the rigors of the program? Because sometimes a guy didn't go to Hampton out of high school for reasons other than academics, other than athletics. What kind of advice would you give Coach Malone?
I think you have to really work hard at it. You know, I hear the fans, you know, they say things that just really sometimes disheartening because they don't understand the academic rigor that Hampton, Duke, and everybody else got to have. Vanderbilt got to have those standards too. So the kid I want is the kid that can go to class, that's going to show up, do what he's supposed to do. And most of those kids come with a tremendous amount of self-discipline when you find them kids. He may not be the most dominant athlete that you may find, but he has the want to and the desire, and he helps with my culture. So when I find a kid that's going to go to school, that know what to do, how to do it, and why it's important for them to do it that way. Sometimes when you get over athletic kids in a situation and they in a place where they're the most athletic person on the field, they tend to overcompensate themselves. They tend to do more than what you ask them to do. Like he was talking about, he's supposed to stay in his gap. He'll tend to rush past the quarterback. He'll rush past his getting to the top of the Y. He was supposed to be at the top of the Y, but he didn't went all the way past the throwing arm of the quarterback. So now he ducked up on him and gave up outside contain. Those are the type of kids that you try to stay away from. I have a saying that I would take a kid with an average kid that'll give me above average effort, and I beat anybody in the country with him. Now, I see people talk about the transfer portal did this for people. The transfer portal did that for people. Yes, in their situation, it may be. But at Hampton, Howard, and some of those places, academics matter. FAMU, you got to have a certain GPA to get in there. They want kids that's going to graduate. That still comes back to hunt us, and that's why it's happening to FAMU and everywhere. You go get a kid that gets in the transfer portal, he leaves and he doesn't go nowhere. That hurts FAMU. So all those things with APR and things like that kind of hurt your program. So if you want to keep a consistent, build a team, I feel like you find the kids with good academic rigor that know how to go to class. He come from good families and people that want to be a part of your program. Because if you find them in those type of situations like that, you can build a consistent winner. And then you can plug and play guys that you find from the portal that can help you be good at what you do. And I think that's where that's my opinion. Now, I'm like Coach Malone. That's my opinion. It's worked out well for me. Yes, you know, people talk about what happened at Clark. Well, at Clark, we bought players that we had already developed, that had already been in my system, and we took them from ashy to classy. They go to the championship game the first year we had. Then the second year, we have to struggle a little bit because we're building a foundation. You either could have had it in year one or you're going to get it in year two. One day or love, you're going to have to struggle. So as my old coach told me, everybody's going to have that day to be in the bear. You understand what I'm saying? So it happened to Prime when he goes to Colorado. He takes Shador, all those kids over there that already had played in Jackson State system that he took over there with him. Then they go over and they be superstar. But the very next year, he struggled a little bit because now he got to find what? Players he got to rebuild. Is that coaching? You know, that's not all coaching. Even if you get a player, now I've gotten players out of the transfer portal. And I'm talking about this, a lot of coaches, they ain't going to talk about how many busts they've gotten out of the transfer portal. Guys that they thought because they had played at Alabama or somewhere else, they were supposed to go in and be great football players. And then they come there and they're really not that good. So I'm looking for the kid that come from the portal like Jackson State get, the kid that's playing on a team, a kid that actually got contribution to the team and played. Those are the kind of kids I'm looking for to add to my team that's going to create a difference on my team.
Yeah, I agree. And all those values that we talk about, I don't care if it's high school or it's portal players that you recruit. Again, I'm not against recruiting portal players. I just want to build our team, build the foundation of your team on players who are local, players who are from the area, And I think that's the way that you build it. Again, you got to plug in. You're going to have to plug in. We already talked about players. We got more than that. Players that we recruited from the portal. You're going to have to do both. But as we talk about, like you said, there are these examples of coaches who have had great success in the portal. I have had success as well. I've also had failures in the portal, right? I think that over the course of time, each program, you just got to do what is fitting you. And sometimes what fits you in 2026 might not fit you in 2028, right? You got to do what you have to do at that moment within your philosophy, right? But you have to do whatever you must do at that moment to be successful, which is very important.
We can't hear you, Mr. Campbell, for some reason.
What about now? There you go.
Yeah, you're fine.
That's okay, man. Listen, this is HBC Coach Corner, man. Teddy Keaton just right here cooking and everything. So, Coach, listen, Coach Keaton, you doing your thing, and trust me, we are good with you asking every question because you're getting the great knowledge. Because this is what HBC Coach's Corner is about. It's not about, hey, Coach, who you think coming back? Hey, Coach, who you playing? This is HBCU Coach's Corner where the coaches talk business. But, Coach, I do want to talk about, because Coach Keaton did talk about guys that you brought in. So he kind of covered a lot of that. But I do want to talk about guys that you got, that you walked in the room and that are still there. So you had a couple of guys that fortunately made all conference. So let's kind of go back to your guy, Omari Allen, offensive lineman, 6'4", 300 from Henderson, North Carolina, made all conference. Let's talk about him and what did you see from him when you walked in the building and said, okay, I see why he's all conference. And what do you expect from him this year?
I'm going to be honest. I didn't see much from him because he was injured, right? But what I did see, and I'm kind of making light of it, but what I did see was a young man who was committed to this program because he could have left, right? He could have left. It'd be hard to leave injured, but he would have had opportunities to go play because he's been a successful player, right? He's been productive as he's been here, even on a team that wasn't playing the greatest. And so the fact that he decided to stay and be a part of this program, I was delighted for that, right? Then, you don't just have kids who are as big as Amari is just walking around the campus, right? And so I was excited about that. And so what we said that we wanted to do with him is we wanted to get as much as we could out of him as a leader. He wasn't going to be able to participate much in the spring, but the guys who would have to be stepping in for him in his injury, he'd have to help in the development of those guys. He'd have to do everything he could to lead that room. And I thought he did a great job of that. Now, as he has gotten himself back to a healthy state, man, nobody worked harder this summer in the weight room, right? Believe he's benching over 400 pounds, right? And doing the things that you want a lineman who is on an upward trajectory to be doing. And so I couldn't be more fired up about watching him play in his final season. And what I agreed with him to do is, man, we're going to do everything we can to make this the best season, the best experience that you've had since you've been at Hampton.
Now, Coach, on the defensive side, you got a young man, and I want you to pronounce his name for your defensive lineman, 6'3", 245 from Lormont. Is it Sorbian? Is that how you pronounce it?
Sorbazen.
So basically, talk about him. He's all conference. And what are you looking for him, Coach?
Corey Day. The same thing with Corey Day. Corey Day is a young man who initially was rolling out of here. He was in the portal. And once I got the job, I reeled him out of the portal and convinced him that things would be going in the right direction because Corey Day is the ultimate culture person, right? He's the guy who is working hard. He's the guy who you don't have to ask to do extra. He's the guy who is holding himself accountable. He's the guy who is doing the best he can to help hold his teammates accountable. And so at the end of the day, you have to have players like him on your team. And so I was fired up that he chose to stay. And man, from day one to today, him sitting in that team meeting as our team reported, he's always been the same person. He's been one that I'm proud and appreciative of the fact that the opposing coaches saw that same thing in him as well as Amari.
Now, Coach, now this was the most impressive, and I think people, and I know you and Coach Keaton will understand this. I think in HBC football, special teams does not get the nurturing and value and understanding this. You got an all-conference partner, Brett Starling from Hampton, 6'6", 230. How excited are you to have a guy that you know can flip the field to get your defense and put the offense in the hole?
Well, you know, honestly, as I go through and I watch the entire season, offensively, defensively, and special teams, he actually was a really bright spot, right? Which is you see why he was all conference, why he was preseason all conference. He as well, though, as we went through the spring, this dude was injured, had to have surgery, right? And so I know what I watched on the video, but I haven't seen it with my own eyes in truest form just yet. But as far as how he works, as far as how he went through his rehab to prepare himself to get better from injury, man, I'm excited as you are. And again, am appreciative of the respect that the opposing coaches within the conference made to choose him to be an all-conference special teams player, because again, he was a bright spot on the team last season.
Coach, I want to bring, Coach Keaton brought up your quarterback room, but I think there's something even more important because you got in there late. You know what I mean? You got in there very late and you had to hit the ground running. But one of the things that I saw about Jalen Woods, he said that you had known him since high school, that you all had a relationship. Coach, how important was that when you looked in the portal and like Coach Keaton, and you want, and they say he had some SWAC hours, the kid that played, and the kid, I saw him play against FAMU. I saw his ability. How important was that relationship when you said, you know what, he said he wanted to change, he left Southern because he still had the opportunity. And how did you sit back and say, hey, come up to Hampton, this is going to be the best place for you?
Well, again, man, recruiting, and people might say it, but I've always said it as I was a young coach trying to figure out how am I going to convince these players from Texas to come to North Dakota State? Like, that was my first question. How am I going to do this? And I said, you know what? I'm going to establish a relationship with them. And I remember, and we talking about Jalen Woods, but I got to take you all the way back to North Dakota State. I remember writing a card to a player whose school that I visited. And that player, he had lost someone important in his life. And the coach told me about that. So I sat down and I wrote, he wasn't really a high value recruit, but I sat down and I wrote that kid a note. And I said, hey man, I know you're going through something tough, whatever I wrote, right? A long card. And I said, I know you're going through something tough, but I just want you to know, I don't know you, but coach told me about what you're going through, man. And I just wanted to encourage you that you're going to be okay, whatever. Left that note for that kid. Man, about 3 years ago, this kid, man, he passed, he died. But his wife sent me that card. And his wife said, this card, it was a North Dakota State card. She said, this card meant an incredible amount to him. That you wrote it, and he kept it all these years. And one thing we always say as a family is that we can, no matter where you are, if we ever can help you get a player, we're going to do everything we can to get that player to your team. And so for me, I learned really early that recruiting is about relationships. It's about treating people the right way, from coaches to players, to family members, to anybody you come in contact with. Because there's a book called The Power of Who. You never know who you're touching. You never know who you're talking to, right? You could be talking to the person that the recruit is going to listen to over anybody else. And so for me, that relationship with Jay Woods, man, that was just me talk. First of all, I wasn't recruiting him. He wasn't good enough, right? And he would probably admit to that nowadays. But that didn't mean I couldn't talk to him and give him encouragement. And that's what I did at that moment, way back then, gave him encouragement. And then now the flip scripts. Excuse me, I flipped it. The script flips, right? Now I need him. Now I got to recruit him, right? And so that's just what we must learn to do, right? That's what we must learn to do. And it paid off tremendously by me saying something to a kid who at that moment, again, wasn't a high value recruit, but I'm a coach. He's a kid trying to do what I coach people to do. I got time to say something encouraging to him.
No, I think, Coach, I think that's amazing, because I think one of the things, we hear this, it's about the money, it's about the prestige, it's about, can you give me this, can you give me that? But in the end, it still goes down to relationships. And those things, you can't put a dollar value on those relationships and things like that. And at HBC, we can't outbid anybody. But I think what the superpower we have is who the value we are as people, and you all as coaches, and the school itself, the value that it brings. Because the one thing about him being at Southern, or him which he'll finish at Hampton, the one thing about that power, that Hampton degree, and your coaching is going to make him a better person. So that's the thing. I'm super excited to see him go up there and get another shot. And like I say, and really, learning your tutelage.
Hey,
Right.
Hey, Coach,
Now,
I
Coach,
wanted to go ahead.
Go ahead. Yeah.
No, what I wanted to do before we get off, Coach, I wanted you to talk about your coaching staff, because when we originally interviewed you, you hadn't quite put it together all the way. The only guy that I knew you had hired was my homeboy, Clay Jennings. You gave him an opportunity to, after, probably 25 years of coaching on the defensive side of the ball, this would be his first defensive coordinator position. And I was excited for Clay to have an opportunity to call the defense, considering all the great defenses he's been around and all the places he's coached. Who else did you add to your staff as you were filling it out, and what were you looking for when you were adding these coaches?
Well, it's like, as I've talked to head coaches over the years, when I had an opportunity to be on staffs, I always would probe the head coach and ask that coach how he built his staff and what did he build it on. Well, first thing, let me just talk about the people, right? We talk about DJ. DJ Bolden is our offensive coordinator, coach the quarterbacks. DeJuan Lucky, our tight ends coach, as well as our special teams coach. We already talked about Clay Jennings, our defensive coordinator. He coached the safeties. Sid Whitaker, our cornerbacks coach. Rick Purcell, our linebackers coach. Zach McCarthy, our defensive ends coach. Trevor Trout, our defensive tackles coach. Kenny Ray, our offensive line coach. Quentin Lee, our running back coach. Connor Loper, our wide receiver coach. And then, we got about 100 other people from there, but Aaron McGinty is our GM. Now, all of these people, I don't really care if you're a coach, if you're a staff member, you got to be what we would consider a good person. When I say we would consider, it's good people. You know good people and you know bad people. Like good people, they're going to lie to you. They're going to lie on you, right? They're just going to do that. Good people, they are concerned about themselves over everything. Bad people, they're concerned about themselves over everything, right? People who are disloyal, right, man, they're going to talk about you, and they're going to go right over here, and they're going to talk about you, and they're going to go over here, and they're going to talk about you, and they're going to talk, right? Wherever they are, the people who not there, they're the ones they talking badly about, right? Bad people, they don't care about bad coaches, bad people. They don't care about the kids. The kids are just a way to whatever they're trying to get to. They just going through the kids. They could care less what's going on in kids' lives. They could care what's going on in a coach's life. They just here for the moment. They ain't about building nothing. They will stand and hold for a minute, but when it gets tough, they're going to quit. You got players like that. You got coaches like that as well. Well, I get an opportunity to choose the coaches, like we talked about. I was able to seek these people out and pick these people amongst a lot of other people, right? And so some of them I didn't know, and that was intentional because I want to grow. I never knew Connor Loper, never worked with him, right? But I wanted to grow. I wanted to put myself in a situation where I could push a coach who I didn't know. It's pretty easy for me to push our strength coach, Lavelle Williams. He's been in my life all my life. We're best friends. We went to high school together. So it's pretty easy for me to curse. Got to clean this up. It's pretty easy for me to get on him, right? But a person who I never worked with, I don't know. Like, that's a challenge. As a leader, you have to be direct. As a leader, you have to have tough conversations. As a leader, when something is not the way it's supposed to be, again, we all chasing excellence. It's my responsibility to get it right. Some people have a problem doing that with people they don't know because they worry about them coming in the office being mad the next day. Hey, man, it costs what it costs, right? And so the people who I surrounded myself with, they're not people who going to agree with everything that I say. They're people who going to challenge me. They're people who going to tell me, hey, coach, you know we're not supposed to wear a hat in the building. Boop, bang, right? Love wearing my hat in the building. But each one of them that I interviewed, I gave them a scenario. And the scenario essentially sets up where I made a decision as a head coach, and you as the assistant coach, you don't agree with it. But either you sit on the bus and let me drive off the road, or you come into my office. My mom used to always say, it's not what you say, it's how you say it. And so you come into my office and you tell me what's going on. You tell me that you don't agree that we should take Johnnie on the trip. Johnnie hadn't done the right things all week. And coach, I think you might be making a mistake in taking Johnnie. Now, you can't come in here and flip my desk over, right? And sometimes for head coaches, you can't challenge me in the room in front of all these people, right? So doing it the right way, but that's what I wanted to know. I wanted to know, who is this man? What does he stand for? And to a man, they all were respectful of, well, coach, ultimately you the head coach. They all gave me that addendum, but they all said, no, coach, I think for the program, it's best that I tell you what I believe. You're going to do what you're going to do, but I need to go to sleep at night and I have to tell you. That's respect, right? I respect people who do that. I respect people who are honest with me. If I'm not doing it the way I said I was going to do it, if I'm not doing it to the standard that we all agreed upon, then it's affecting you. Again, go back to bad people, good people. Bad people, they gonna hang in there until they can escape. If you burning down the house, they're not gonna tell you burning down the house. They just gonna stay long enough till they can leave and go somewhere else. Good people, not only are they gonna be trying to put some water to put out the fire, but they gonna tell you that you're making a mistake. And that's what I can appreciate. And so these people are good people, but they're also really good coaches who believe in developing players through fundamentals. And I don't know any of them who are these schematic gurus, right? Because honestly, I don't know what anybody on this call believes, but man, there's only 11 of them. You can draw them damn schemes all day long, but you're gonna have to teach fundamentals, and you're gonna have to get these players to execute these schemes at a high level. And you can do that very simply. But everybody want to be a guru, a guru of defense and a guru of offense, right? Not many people want to be a guru of fundamental teaching.
Coach, before we get you out of here, me and you had a conversation. I think it's important because we talked about a lot of X's and O's and things like that, but you're also going to be a father figure to a lot of these men. And me and you had a conversation. I tell a lot of people, which GPS are you following? Because people say, hey, man, Mr. Cam, I got GPS. I can get to where you're at. I said, no. You're talking about that global positioning system. I'm talking about that internal God's positioning system to get you where you're trying to go. Coach, talk about that God's GPS that got you to where you're at and what you discovered when you were cleaning out your office and what you looked at and some of the things that was instilled in you that now got you to be the coach at Hampton that we talked about before we got on.
Yeah, so that conversation that we had, I was cleaning out my wife making me clean out this file cabinet. So I'm cleaning out a file cabinet and I'm going through all this old stuff. Coaches, we keep playbooks. We keep stuff from 20 years ago, right? We don't throw it away. And it ain't until somebody forces us to throw it away that we do. And so I'm going through this stuff because I don't need to throw it away. I love it, right? And I'm reading something that I wrote like 20 years ago, right? And it was my head coach's manual. Van Malone, head coach. This is what I'm going to do. This is what the program is going to be built on. And man, I'm reading it, and it it was an incredible blessing for me, right? Because there's twofold, as we talked about this, Mr. Campbell, there's twofold. Number one, like you talked about, God is directing your path. You already got the answers. You already got this map, this internal map. He's showing, he's already giving it to you. Those coaches out there who are really good coaches, man, you already got. Sometimes we get fired. Really good coaches get fired, right? And they question it. No, man, you're good. This is just another recalibration point. But anyway, I'm reading this stuff, and man, it's saying the same things that I'm saying today. It's the same. It's the same accountability measures. It's the same thought processes, the same mindsets that I want my staff to have, that I want my team to have. It's the same stuff. And so the next point of that is that, you know what, sometimes when there's questions, and Coach Keaton, you talked about this, the HBCU coaching, it's been good for a minute. It's actually been good for a minute because we get some coaches, some Deion Sanders that shed the light on it a little bit more, right? Then people start to respect it a little bit more. We get a little bit more media coverage. People start to see a little bit more and put it in a different light, right? But it's been good for a minute. And so when God puts it in there, it's good. And so for me, that was like confirmation, right? Like a check off, like, yeah, then I could have done this. Now, like you said, you're never ready until you're ready, until you're in the seat. But no, man, we could have done this a long time ago. But sometimes we have questions because people tell us we can't, right? And so we just got to keep pushing. We got to just keep pushing toward the mark.
But Coach,
Coach, I know you at camp.
Oh, I really go. No, Coach Keaton, I'm gonna let you go. I just really appreciate you telling that story because I think it's just so important because we have and I'm gonna keep saying this. We have a lot of parents that watch this show, a lot of them, and a lot of kids. It's like I always tell these kids, man. And again, I understand there's levels to it. You know, if you like you said you went to Texas, if you can go, I understand. Go to Texas, go to Georgia, go to my. But listen, if some directional state is calling you, man, you need to go to Hampton.
Come on.
There is nothing some directional state is going to be able to do for you that a FAMU, a Jackson State, a Southern, a Hampton, a Howard, a Alabama State, a Prairie View can do. It's going to be tenfold. So that's the reason why I want these people to understand, because now we're getting to a point where we got kids. Well, hey, Mr. Campbell, I'm going to go some directional state. I'm saying, what? Will they give me $2,000? I said, man, let me tell you something. You go to FAMU, you'll make $200,000. So which one do you want to play the game with? The 2,000 or the 200,000? And that's why I want people to understand and hear it, because we're so much on the margins. It's something that you just said that it's going to be a parent that says, that's where you need to go. That $2,000, Hampton will make sure you get that $2,000. Trust me. They got enough of love to make it work. So that's why I just want to put that out there. Coach, I appreciate you telling that story. Coach Keaton, please go ahead.
Well, I know he coaches at camp. And we all done been there. It's tired. It started early in the morning. It's late at night. But I got one question for you before we close it tonight. When people look at Hampton this fall, when they look at it, what is the first thing, one characteristic, the trait that they're going to see, other than looking at the scoreboard? What are they going to be able to tell about your team?
It's simple. And again, people have slogans and they can say all these ring-a-ling things, right? But for me, man, it is a little bit of has a ring to it. But we talk to this team about out hitting, being physical, right? If you're not physical in the game of football, you just might as well not play it, right? It's a physical game. And guess what? The characteristics, they are my characteristics. As a player, I took pride in being physical. So that's what Van Malone team is going to do. We're going to be physical. If we're not physical, I'm embarrassed, right? And then the next thing that we're going to do, this is Hampton University, right? A prestigious academic institution. So we should take pride in being smarter than whoever else we play, because we're so smart, right? So we shouldn't do dumb things, right? We shouldn't disadvantage ourselves. We should take advantage of every opportunity. So we should be smart. We should outsmart them. And then the third thing is that, man, I'm just telling you talking about it being late or whatever. I always say this: it costs what it costs. right? It costs what it costs. So I'm up at 10:14. Guess what's gonna happen? That's right. Guess what's gonna happen at 6 o'clock in the morning? I'm gonna be sitting in here meeting with my staff, right? Because that's what it is. Guess what I did today at 7 a.m. My staff and I, we met at the spot we practicing, and I was out there lining the field, right?
That's right.
Because it just costs what it costs. And,
See, Mr.
and we'll
Malone,
talk
Coach
about
Malone,
the
they don't
price
know
later.
nothing about that. You know, when you was at Power, you spent most of your career at Power 4. They don't know that you got to go out there and make sure you fill in the holes that may be in your practice field with some sand that they set off to the side for you to make sure your grass is where it needs to be because you want your kids to come out of there healthy. That's the work that people don't see. I'm reading in the comments where a guy said, you know, you say, thanks, Dion. We do appreciate Dion. I want to say that. We do appreciate who Dion was and what Dion did for the modern day part of football. But we also got to understand this was a benefit for Dion as well. So don't let it just seem like it was just a benefit for the HBCUs. Yes, he brought visibility to us. We appreciate that. But he also got visibility for himself, and he put himself in position to be able to get where he was trying to go. So that's how that opportunity worked. So we spent all our lives trying to chase to be at the Power Fours, to get our chance to be at those places. He wanted to be at those places too, because if somebody else would have called him Florida State or anybody else would have hired him, he would have took that job before he took Jackson State. Now that's big facts if you want to hear the truth. So I don't get into that and buy into all the genre to say that who did what. There's a lot of coaches that came before Dion that did a lot of things that were great, that before Dion ever came into the HBCU space. Some of these young fellas only understand what they saw when Dion came into space, but Big Daddy and all them Gordon and all those guys did well at Jackson State in the 80s, and they won a lot of championships. There was a lot of great coaches that's been there before those people. So I get passionate when the people start talking about what's only what they've seen in the modern day era. Be appreciative of the jobs that we get, because a lot of those guys at Power 4 can't get a job where they want to get them at, so they have to come to us. And that's no shot at you, Coach Malone. That's just what it is. That's the reality of it, and nobody wants to talk about it. That's real talk right
there. Coach, hey, I want to personally thank you for coming on and spending this time with us. I know you guys, you know, it's long days this time of year for you, and I just want to. Mr. Campbell got an echo, so I'm gonna ask his question for you. Why should a young man go if I had a son that was recruitable, and you were to come to Texas and sit down and talk to him, why should my son choose Hampton University before we get out of here?
That dude should choose Hampton, and you, because you're a part of what he's doing. We recruiting you just like we're recruiting him. But he should choose Hampton. You guys should choose Hampton because of the details, right? What do I mean? That we're going to develop you. That's the details. That's the D. We're going to develop you, right? We're going to develop you as a man off the field, and we're going to develop you on the field. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to empower you, right? We're going to teach you that you have a platform that's unbelievable. And you say Hampton, you say HBCU. Hey, man, you have a platform as a football player in today's world. There are people looking up to you. I got to teach you that, right? The next thing that we want to do is we want to develop trust. You got to trust me. When Coach Malone says that if you miss weights again, I got something for you, right? That's a bad example of trust, but you got to trust me. And then the next thing is that I got to hold you accountable. Whatever you tell me, whatever your son tells me he wants out of life, guess what? I'm going to hold him accountable every day to be pushing for that. And he can hold me accountable on the flip to be pushing him for that every single day. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to inspire him, because it's my job to sharpen his sword, not break his sword. So I'm going to inspire him every day to let him know he can do it. You can do it. And then the next thing, I ain't afraid to say it. He going to be loved, right? I tell my players, I love you. I don't say love you, right? I say, man, I love you, right? Because it's too hard as coaches for us to be around each other, be around these kids as much as we are and not love them. Guess what? People who bake cookies, that's their thing. I've been put on this earth to inspire young people. That's what I'm here for. And so I do it to the best of my ability every day. And then the final thing is that we're going to serve him. That, you know, ask what come first, the chicken or the egg? Which come first, the player or the coach? the player came first, and then they need the coach, right? If it ain't no players, there ain't no coaches. And I take that to heart, and I take that personally, that I'm there to serve them. Honestly, though, when you do it right, what happens is they end up trying to serve you. You trying to serve them, and they end up serving you, right? And so that's why he should come to Hampton, is because all that I just said is connected to winning, right? And eventually, we're going to build a winner here, but it's got to start with the details.
Absolutely. Mr. Campbell, go ahead. I know you got something you want to say.
No. Coach, I just want to once again thank you for being on. We appreciate you. Like I say again, I've known you for a very long time. And man, listen. So here's, Coach, this is what I'm gonna tell you. I'm gonna put it out there. When you be Howard, now we had Ted White on there, Coach. This is how we're gonna do it. If Hampton beats Howard, you got to come on there that Tuesday. You got to talk your talk, then, Coach. You got to come on. Okay.
Man, let me tell you something. One thing I never do. I don't talk before. I don't talk after. Right? I'm the consummate. I'm about to under talk, and I'm about to over deliver. Right? And then after it's over, man, I'm about the most gracious winner and loser because that's what I've got my head kicked in. Right? And when you get your head kicked in, you learn how to win and you learn how to lose. But at the end of the day, man, there are very good coaches at Hampton. There are very good coaches at Howard. There are very good coaches all across this league that we play in and across the HBCU ranks. So, man, winning is very difficult. It's very difficult. You can, and this is my last story, but you can get on YouTube and you can get all over the internet and you can find ways. A lot of retired coaches, they can tell you how to win, right? They can tell. A lot of individual sports, individual business people, they can tell you how to be successful, right? But it's easy to find the clues. It's easy to find the clues, but it's very difficult to do. This is my example, and I might have shared it with y'all, is that you got us four, right? And you said, hey, y'all, we're going to do one perfect jumping jack. Can we do it? All right, ready to go. Boom, boom. We're going to all do the one jumping jack together. We're going to probably all be on rhythm. Rock going to probably be off rhythm because his sister coming in, kissing him. He going to be off. But we're going to probably be on rhythm. 4 people together, up, down, boom, all together. But now let's add 46 people to that. Now we got to make sure we know the dude in the back. Can you hear? Because we got to all start and stop at the same time. So the dude in the back, what he doing? Is he paying attention? Does he even know we're doing a jumping jack? Who gonna be the leader, right? Who gonna take control and give us the cadence? What is the cadence? Is it gonna be fast, ready, go, or ready, go? What's the cadence gonna be, right? When we go down, are we gonna slap our legs or we gonna just put our hands down? That's winning. Like, you got to execute precisely like that to win. Well, that's hard. You know what I'm saying? When you add 40 people, now add 90 people, right? Now add a staff to that, right? So when you talk about these team sports, winning is not as easy as we might think. And so to be able to put that all together is a monumental task at times. Some people make it look easy, right? And you think it's easy, but it's not really, right? And so that's what we question for, man, is for us to all be on the same page every single day, every single play, and understand that we're not always, and how are we going to respond when we're not? That's my charge.
Good stuff. Good stuff, Coach.
Well, there it is, Van Malone, the coach of the Hampton Pirates. First year.
Man, I appreciate you guys for having me.
Absolutely, Coach. We appreciate your time. Thank you for joining us for HBCU Coach's Corner.
Hey, thank you, Coach.
No doubt.
Hey, that was an amazing interview by the Hampton University head coach, Van Malone. Man, I want to first off thank Coach Cole for setting it up and wishing him a happy birthday as well. I want to thank Coach Keaton for joining us. He didn't charge us too much, but I'll tell you this: we already in the overtime, and so at overtime we didn't talk about an overtime rate. So we're gonna give him an opportunity to say parting words before we get out of here, or talk about anything he want to talk about before we get out of here, Coach.
No,
The
it
floor
was
is
a
yours.
great. It was a great show today, man. I really appreciate that. I hope I was able to add value. That's what I always tell people. I want to create and add value. Don't mean to, I really didn't like the comments about the HBCU thing because I'm really passionate about HBCU football. We have a platform, we have a great opportunity, and we do a really good job with it. And I love places like the Coach's Corner, all the podcasts out there that has brought light and shed upon the good coaches we have. There's a lot of good coaches in this league. I'm talking about a lot of good coaches. And I'm so proud of what our sport has become to this day, and being able to have a space where the head coaches be able to come on and have good conversation like this to keep the fans up to date what's going on. This is really good, and I appreciate it, and just glad to be able to add my small part to it today.
Hey, Coach, I want to thank you, man. You added tremendous value on here. And like I say, I'd love to have conversations with you on the air and off, during this season as the season progresses. But Coach Van Malone, our entire conversation, I guess the theme of the conversation that we were having with Coach Malone was that getting to Saturday is the hard part. You know what I mean?
No doubt about it.
He didn't talk about too much difficulties that would happen on Saturday. He talked about getting to Saturday. What can you say to our fans about, in the position that he's in, how difficult it is each and every week to get to Saturday, to play the game, and have your players in good mind, good spirit, and with the attitude to win?
I think it's tough. Simply because of the situation he's in. It's academics that got to go there first. I mean, he got to get it in. And then he inherited a program that's in a conference where, they got beat on pretty bad. Now, Coach, losing is a habit and so is winning. And you have to change that mindset and that culture. And then when you open up your season against people like Maryland, then you got Campbell, you got Tucson. I mean, Coach, that ain't no walk in the park to show up to every day now. And then you got to get your kids to that point to believe that they can show up at those games. Now, we're not even talking about the rival games. You still got Northwest State, Howard, North Carolina A&T. I mean, he got to come up for, and then, when that Howard game come, that's the one they really wanted to win. I mean, but by the time he get to Howard, is he out of gas? Is his team mentally depleted? You get what I'm saying? Not just physically. We're talking about mentally depleted, because when you get beat on constantly, that takes a toll, and we ain't talking about a kid from the 1970s or 80s. We're talking about a kid in the 2000s now that he rather like, okay, I'm packing this up now. We doing this too long. What we gonna do? And then I just think it's tough. I mean, it's tough. When I see losing programs, and you guys know I've taken over some losing programs and made them winners, but sometimes it just take a lot to get the mindset of a kid to understand that we got to show up here every Saturday, and we got to keep chopping the wood, and we got to carry the water till it turns to wine. And I think that's what he's got to do. He's got to create a mindset that when I open up to Maryland, and then I go to Campbell, and I got to just fight through those adversities. I just got to fight through them.
Yeah, Coach. And I thank you for giving us an idea of what it takes, because I think that's what it seems like Coach Malone is focused on right now. It's not so much what happens on the field, but getting everyone to pull in the same direction, both staff, alumni, players, and the game will take care of itself if we get all the other details right. And I thought that was a very interesting approach.
And you got to think about your coaches that you got around you. Are they going to pull the boat in the same way? I mean, it's interesting to hear how he described it. You know what I'm saying? You got your coaches that's there to help put water on the fire. Then you got coaches that's hoping the boat burn because maybe in their mind they thought they should have been the coach. You get what I'm saying? So it's a lot of things that you have to manage. And then you got to have that difficult conversation with people. There's a lot of things that go on before you ever touch a field to get not just your whole football team, 85, 110 players. You got to get support staff, trainers, everybody on the same page to hope that we are rowing the boat the same direction in order to get those wins. That's way before the wins ever come. So you almost got to be a master manipulator, and you better be well read, and you better know how to handle each situation to a science.
Hey, Coach. He has a difficult task. You've been in that situation, and I guess it was quite fitting for you to have this conversation with him because you were at an academic institution that wanted to win, and you sit here with us today after being very successful at that program, probably more successful than anybody else in recent history at Clark, but yet you still find yourself on the podcast with us. So it can be very difficult for coaches and people in the coaching profession.
There's no doubt about it. And like I said, you know that when you sign up for it, it's just something that you know that you got to do. Either you're going to get a job done or you ain't. There's no excuses. The buck stops with me. I tell people if something ain't going right, it's my fault. If the quarterback ain't playing well, it's my fault. I say on the words, we said in the room, either you're coaching it that way or you're allowing it to happen. So which one are we doing? So when a coach or a player say something to me, I'd be like, either you coaching it that way or you allowing it to happen. So is that what we coaching? Is that what we selling? Those are the things that we always have to ask ourselves every day. And like I say, he got to have a whole group of a room of people that's pushing his same message. And being that he has just gotten into that seat and hiring people, and I don't know what their connections prior to getting together, it's important to have relationships or somebody that can stand on the table for the people you got in the room for you. Because we all know in this world, everybody ain't for you.
Absolutely. Hey, Mr. Campbell, you got any parting words you like to say before we get out of here?
Well, first of all, Coach King, thank you so much for joining us, man. We're going to have to bring you on over there to the dark side of Sipping on Sundays where we just talk about everything, Coach. You know what I'm saying? And let it rip over there on Sipping on Sundays. So definitely I'm going to get your number and bring you on. But, Coach, you know what? You said something that I thought was interesting. And I've heard this. You have coaches in the coaching profession. You don't know somebody personally, but you, I guess, admire him from afar. How does that work when you don't know a guy, but somebody say, hey, you know what? That'll be a great guy to be on your staff. How does that really work?
That works like it works. If Rocky called me and stand on the table for a guy, it depends on my respect for Rocky. If I respect Rocky and I know Rocky wouldn't send me nobody that would fail me, then I'm going to take his word and be like, okay, sometimes you get to that point where you run out of coaches to hire. And the older you get, you got to start leaning on the younger guys. Either you start hiring, as you hear when you listen to JC talk, he got former players now that are head coaches. So they were all assistant coaches at some point in time. And that phone call going to always lead back to whoever coached you or what tree you came from. What's your pedigree? Who gonna vouch for you? And then they have to pay attention to where you've been, and they got to do some homework to figure out, what happened over here? I know when it's time for me to sit back in that chair to become a head coach again, somebody's gonna want to know, what happened? And you got to be able to explain that. And that story got to line up with everybody that's there because the fans gonna want to know. Everybody else gonna want to know. So that's the stuff that you have to be. And then if you hire a guy that Mr. Campbell gave me a friend to say, and he's a part of the alumni. So those are the ones that we try. It becomes difficult for them to get a job before the alumni guy recommend him because the first thing you're thinking, like, why is he recommending? So even if he's a good guy, you get what I'm saying? He may be a great guy.
And who is he reporting to?
Yeah, who is he reporting to? Is he put in here to be a mole, or is he here to have my back? I'm just talking about what stuff I couldn't talk about when I was playing.
That's real talk, Coach. That's real talk. You got to be careful about taking, like you say, about taking recommendations. What are you taking it for? That's because for the lack of a better description, coaches deal with a lot of proprietary information that they have on their staff, things that are better kept between the coaches and the coaching staff and the team for that matter. And you definitely don't want that information just willy-nilly being disseminated all over campus and then all over social media and out to the public.
Man, you had to be real careful because what's talked about at that table, sometimes coaches, as he was talking about, you had to think about their sensitivity. What coaches that you may be able to fuss at about something. And if you've got a prior relationship with a guy, you can go, me and LC can have a whole argument with each other. And then as soon as we finish, we're going to go somewhere because we've had that type of repertoire around each other. But some coaches, you kind of tread lightly with them because you don't know who they are as people. You hadn't been around them enough. It just don't happen on coaching. It's no different than running a business. It's no different than your manager, your boss at work. You know, sometimes you might want to go tell your boss something that you want to go say, but you don't know how he's gonna perceive it. But it actually, as a leader, and I sat in that seat for 17 years. I tell people as a leader, I want somebody to come tell me when I'm not doing something right. Please come tell me that something's going wrong that I know. I even listen to fans sometimes. You know why? Because sometimes I get in the comments and I hear what fans say, and they may not be right on what they're talking about, but they be somewhere close. And you might need to hear what they say.
Hey, Coach, one thing I've learned in my in the short time that I've been really covering HBCU sports and getting really to know coaches from a professional level is that coaches want people around them they can trust. And it's not surprising to me that a guy would hire his childhood friend if his childhood friend has a doctorate in sports science. You know what I mean? As a strength and conditioning coach. You know what I mean? So some people would say that's a cronyism or nepotism. But I also think it's a way to insulate yourself as a coach by having people who you believe have your best interests at heart, who are qualified. Let me say, qualified. Because even though Lavelle Williams is Coach Malone's childhood friend, he does have a doctorate in sports science. So,
well, you think about me, and I'm the head coach of FAMU. I'm just throwing it out there because Mr. Campbell on here, and Mr. Campbell found out I hired Corn to be my quarterback coach, and the first time the quarterback messed up, and Mr. Campbell had a guy that he knew that was a proven quarterback, was just so happened to be Quinn Gray, who was a legend there, and I didn't have Quinn Gray, but I hired Corn. I guarantee you, at some point in time, it's gonna come up. Mr. Campbell gonna break it up to me. So, well, if you wouldn't have hired your son, and you would have hired. We would have had better play out of quarterback play. You get what I'm saying? So you got to deal with both ends of that stick too now.
Hey, Coach, but I'm gonna tell you this: coaches don't care when it comes to hiring their son, because people can talk all they want to. But hey, I sleep with his mama, so he gonna get hired. That's what one of my good friends in coaching used to say. He says, my son can handle not playing. But his mama don't understand. And so with that being the situation, coaches find themselves, especially you mentioned your son, in a very precarious situation when you try to manage the relationship with your son, which is easy to manage. And then that other relationship, dealing with his mama, can be somewhat difficult at times in balancing that.
No doubt about it. But I enjoyed my time here with you guys today, man. I appreciate y'all. I really do, man. Thank y'all for having me. Thank you for all your kind. I enjoy coming on all the time. So I appreciate you guys, man. Thank you.
Hey, man. Thank you very much, Coach. I appreciate it. All right. This has been another great episode of HBCU Coach's Corner, man. We took some calls last night, man. We're not going to take any calls today. We're going to go ahead and get out of here, and I'll go ahead and let Mr. Campbell wrap us up. Hold on, wrong guy.
It's okay. Hey, man, I'm going to just say this in real simple, man. Shout out to Coach Quinn Gray. He was on the Paul Feinbaum show. Incredible interview with Paul Feinbaum, representing the best of what FAMU is. And I hope to see, and I would like to see Paul Feinbaum have more HBCU coaches on there, because, again, I know his show is SEC on the SEC network, but the SWAC and SEC have an interesting relationship with each other. We sit on the same footprint. We actually were the foundation of the SEC. So I hope that he has more of our HBCU coaches in that footprint on the show, because they deserve to get exposed just as much as any of those, especially in those SEC schools. So shout out to Paul Feinbaum. Shout out to Coach Quinn Gray. And shout out to Coach Keaton tonight, man. Really appreciate him coming on, man. Gave such a different point of view with the questions and stuff like that. Because one thing about me, I don't have to say a word. My biggest thing I want for HBCU Coaches Corner is people that are listening, that they get something out of it. Because there's a lot of people that talk, but a lot of people don't know what they're talking about. So that's why you got to come listen to HBCU Coaches Corner. Have a good night. I don't think we have anybody else for the rest of the week. Zoe is on his honeymoon. I should be back for Sipping on Sundays on Monday, because I got some things I got to do this weekend. Some folks coming in town I got to hang out with. But I'm going to be back sipping on Sundays on Monday. Got to break it down, getting ready to get close to football season. Football camp has started. Probably have a special guest. Hey, man, maybe Teddy Keenan come on and hang out with me on Sipping on Sundays, and we really break that thing down. But, man, appreciate you all watching. Hit the like button. Always subscribe. And you know what? As Coach say, you can tie that rope. Hold on. However you say it. But listen, we're here for you. Thank you for joining us.